Hey, Michael, this is with this. Is now a bad time for you?
No, I'm good.
Okay, awesome. So I'll get right to it. And the reason why I'm calling you out of the blue today is see if we can help increase your revenue for this year. Like I said, I'm with what we are is a fractional service provider. And what we do is partner with businesses around the same size as you. And we execute lead generation, sales prospecting, the whole 9 yards. We use our own in-source sales team, and what that does is yields for you quality sales calls that you can close for each week. Does that sound like something you'd be interested in?
Yeah, we're not looking at adding any of that right now.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you answering the call, and hope you have a good rest of the day.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Hello, it's Michael Halper with Sales Scripter, and in this video, I'm going to share 3 very simple changes that this salesperson could make that would completely transform his cold calls and his sales efforts. And the first tip is for this salesperson to change the close that he was going for on this cold call. Now, if we go back to the call, his close was, does that sound like something you'd be interested in after he tells me the details about what he sells? And the problem with this is that that close is focused on the last step of the sales process, which is the purchase. And even if this salesperson can't take the order directly over the phone, his question is validating, do you want what I sell? Do you need what I sell? And the problem with that is that there are many steps in between the cold call and the customer purchasing what you sell, and you could very easily transition to focusing on closing for one of those steps. For example, the very next step is what we refer to as the conversation step of the sales process, but you might actually experience or see this as typically the appointment that you have with a client or the meeting that you have with a prospect. And this can drastically improve your cold calls because not only is the conversation a more logical step to close for because it's the very next step, but it's actually easier to close the prospect on talking more than to close the prospect on wanting or needing or buying what you sell. And the next tip in our list of 3 small changes is to shift from the product to the prospect on the cold call. Now, really the bulk of what this salesperson talked about was what he sold, where he transitioned to talking about, well, what we do is this. And he went into detail about telling me about the product or really the service that he provides. Now, I view this kind of as a product pushing sales pitch, which is what actually a lot of salespeople do. This is the product that I sell. This is what it does. Do you need what I sell? Now, what I recommend is that instead of talking about your product, which is really an all about me approach, I recommend you turn that upside down and focus the cold call more on the prospect. Not only does this make the conversation more balanced, but it makes the conversation more engaging for the other person because it's more about them and less about you. And if that seems complex or you don't really know how to do that, here's the trick. All you have to do to make the conversation more about the prospect and less about your product is to simply ask questions. And you may say, well, that makes sense, but I don't know what questions to ask. Well, we have a process that you can go through to develop an optimum set of questions to ask for what you sell. And I went through that process for this salesperson. I went through our sales message brainstorming process and created this sales message. And I'm not going to show you that process or talk about all these individual questions and points, but I will include a link in the description to this process if you want to go through this for what you sell. But each step of that process basically gives us what we refer to as building blocks. And some of those building blocks are sets of questions to ask, such as pain questions and current state questions. And we can use those building blocks to create our cold call script. And here's a flow of a cold call script that this salesperson could have used. And if we go back to his approach, as I mentioned, the centerpiece of his approach was talking about, well, this is what we do, which again is all about me and is a product pushing approach. With our approach, we replace that discussion of this is what we do, and we replace that with questions, and that makes it more about the prospect. So we can replace that with asking some of our pain questions. And we have a second category of questions, which we refer to as current state questions, which these are questions that help to learn more about what the prospect is doing in the area where you have something to sell. And as you can see, that small change can drastically improve your cold calls and your conversations with prospects. And the third tip is to be prepared and have a response for the "I'm not interested" objection. The objection of "I'm not interested" or "we're not interested" is going to come up again and again. So by simply having a response or a game plan for what to say when that comes up, not only will that drastically improve your cold calls and your effectiveness, but it will drastically reduce the friction you experience and the anxiety you feel when cold calling. And when he got this objection, his response was basically, "Okay, well, I appreciate you answering the call. Hope you have a nice day." This is basically, I would refer to this response as basically a comply type of response. You get the objection and you basically give in. And at some point, you do need to give in to the prospect's objection. I would say after you try to get around the objection a couple times, and if you can't do that, at some point you have to comply. So I definitely think there's a better way that he could have responded to this. What I would recommend is, instead of trying to resolve the objection or overcome the objection, which would be to change a prospect from not being interested to being interested, I recommend you try to deflect the objection and bounce off of it to keep the conversation going. And what you can do is, if you use our structure of a cold call script in our building blocks, you can usually deflect off of those objections to other building blocks. And let me show you what that looks like. We could respond with our pain questions. "Okay, I understand. If I could ask you real quick, how do you feel about your ability to get into new accounts?" So we're not trying to resolve the objection, we're just bouncing off of it with a question and trying to keep the conversation going. We could also use our current state questions to bounce off of the objection. "Oh, I understand. If I could ask you real quick, what methods are you using to currently generate leads?" We could also deflect with our pain points. "Oh, I understand. A lot of small businesses we work with are having difficulty getting their foot in the door of new accounts. Are you having that challenge at all?" So with this third tip, the first step is have a response that you can use instead of saying, "Okay, have a nice day." And then the second step there would be to use an approach that helps you to keep the conversation going and stay in the game and maybe go back and get you multiple attempts at closing for the next step in your sales process. Now, hopefully at least one or two of those tips is helpful to you and gives you some ideas of how to improve your sales results. And if you did find value in this video and you want to return the favor, very easy to do. All you have to do is like, comment, share this video, subscribe to our channel. Any of those help us and none of those cost you anything. If you like these tips and you want more, everything I've shared with you here today is actually part of a larger sales methodology that we refer to as the SMART sales system. SMART stands for sales messaging and response tactics. And as you can see, my approach for implementing those 3 tips was to start with creating a sales message for this salesperson and for what he sells. And that's really the foundation and the level 1 of the SMART sales system, which is to create your sales message and to go through that brainstorming process. And once you do that, it's very easy to use those building blocks to create your cold call script and to create your questions to ask and to create your objection responses. And then once you have all that, then it's time to pick up the phone. And that's all discussed in level 3, which is sort of the how-to, how to make those cold calls, how to get around those objections, how to close prospects on the next step of the sales process. And the great news is that if you want to learn and implement the SMART sales system, you can do it for free because it's all on YouTube. All you have to do is go to our YouTube channel and go to our playlist, the SMART sales system, Sell Smarter, Not Harder, and there's a video that will take you through each step of the way. And the reason why we give away our full sales training methodology for free on YouTube is because all of this does align with the product that we do sell called Sales Scripter. Sales Scripter aligns with level 1, which is to build your sales message, because Sales Scripter has an area that we refer to as the Sales Message Builder, which takes you through our sales message brainstorming process step by step and makes that process easier and gives you a place to put all your key details that you should be communicating. And then once you have your sales message in the software, then the software aligns with level 2, providing a full sales playbook of sales scripts and email templates and voicemail scripts and objection responses and more. And those templates all fill in with your your talking points and your sales message, and that's how you end up with a custom tailored library of sales scripts and email messages tailored to your product, your service, your industry. And then certainly the software aligns with level 3, providing full CRM, email automation, functionality, sales role-play tools, e-learning library, training videos, and more. If that's interesting, but you still don't know what to do next, you may want to check out my book, The Smart Sales System, Sell Smarter, Not Harder, and you can get a copy here. I'll put a link to this in the description below. That's pretty much it. Hope this was helpful. If you want more information, the best place to go is salescriptor.com. Thanks for being here, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.